This is John Nielsen for Data Analytics 30. This is the unit project. I'm just going to go ahead and restart everything and run it again to show that it works. Alright. Let's go back to the top and double check that the plots have started filling in, and they are. And then I'll just start going through some of the things we've got to cover here. So, I've got the reviews in there posted. I'm not going to cover them, but I have brief one-liners on everything. I'm going to talk about the plots that I chose, along with some insights. So, starting with the age column, I just did a bar plot with bins. I like the 10, and I decided to add the KDE on it. The KDE actually kind of shows you spikes a little bit better than the lumped together bins, so it's the best of both worlds. You get to see the summary, and the little spikes show you bits about some of the granularity that you lose when you put them together. The industry column, I just plotted them, just did a bar plot. It made sense because you're just looking at them as bins and you wonder how many people are on each one. The salary column, again, a bar plot seemed to work very well. I didn't need a KDE on this, although when you turn it on, it just shows you a little bit more kind of the smooth function that describes everything. Then we move on to industry experience. And then we move on to the industry experience column. One of the things that I thought was kind of interesting for my own edification was to just overlay the age on it in red, as you see right here. And then I moved the age up to, I basically slid it down by 18 because in general we don't have people working younger than 18 in this data set. So it sort of overlaid them, and you got to see some kind of interesting effects that basically look like job switching here, in that they don't match as much as they should. So clearly some of the missing stuff here is people changing careers or something like that. Education column, bar plots again, seems to show the most information. When we got to the gender column, the pie plot was probably the best, but I kind of wanted to sort of highlight the differences a little bit. So what I ended up doing is I plotted a kind of a dummy that was set at the halfway point between the two values. So it turns out there's about 2,500 or so measurements of male, and so I just took the halfway point for that, plotted it in red, and then gave the other plot an alpha of 0.8, so it would change the color a little bit, and then there would be a little bit of a red bar that would poke through, or a little bit of an uncolored or natural colored bar that would poke through if it was higher. So in this case, the male sample size was a little bit below the half point, and the female sample size was a little bit above the halfway point. We can see that from these slight discolored bars right here. Not very good, not a great way to show it. You still have to zoom in a lot, but it kind of highlights that these samples are pretty close to each other in size. The pie chart just basically shows no distinction between either of them. All right, continuing on, we're told to get some summary statistics for some of the numeric values. Describe works, and here's a box plot of it. And so for age, you see about as expected. The minimum is 18, the max is a little bit over 65. And that works pretty well, and you see the median right there. Same thing for salaries, kind of a long tail at both ends, although it's probably a little bit longer on this end because you have a minimum value that would be minimum wage. Next we do salary stats by industry. Kind of the interesting thing about it again is you get to see which industries are the most valuable fairly starkly. And same thing for education. The general trend is more education, more salary. And then I did that for genders, and one of the interesting things here is the differences between the two genders were significantly smaller than differences between industries. All right, and then we start plotting. We do some cross tabs to compare managers at the different education levels, and as you can see, they're fairly evenly balanced between genders. did a strip plot between age and education, and we could also probably, if we wanted to, do hue equals gender here just to see how that looks. Oh, that doesn't show up very well. Let me zoom in a little bit. You can kind of see it, but there's just too many dots to see it that well. It is just fairly clear that it's just a really even mix. Once again, scatter plots for age and salary. I was actually surprised, but by the end it was clear that the age had the highest degree of correlation, and it looks almost like it should be going back down, but that was not true. And then industry experience and salary, again, so all these things were plotted. So this is just a brief overview of them all. Then we did the heat maps, the .core function. I found that I like color palette equals warm cool, I think it is. Could be cool warm. Yeah, cool warm. Let's try that. But that tends to I preferred that a little bit. The colors made a little more sense to me. That should be CMAP, and I guess it's warm cool again. I was missing a comma, so we'll try that one more time. There we go. I found those work a little bit better, and then the annotation serves to highlight the smaller differences. An interesting thing, which makes plenty of sense, there's a high degree of correlation between age and industry experience. It's impossible for younger people to have industry experience that's even close to half their age. So the older you are, the more industry experience you have in general. Then we did the actual correlations on this data. This is the correlation map right here. That ran just fine. I'll just run it again just to show. Okay. And then these are the correlation and p-value things. Again, we have such a large data set that the strength of our data set is going to be really good. So we have very, very low p-values. The big thing that I was surprised by was that it was more about age than industry experience. I kind of figured that industry experience would trump that, but it was just the relationship between those and age. The relationship between industry experience and salary was a little bit smaller than that between age and salary, which was kind of a surprise. And that concludes the walkthrough of my code. Let me add a couple more. Here's some pair plots, more correlation heat maps, and yeah, then some crosstab stuff.